I'm putting this up because I haven't seen, they're talking about the shooting in Spokane at Freeman High School. I haven't gone to social media. I've put up about mind control murders and being done in patterns for a long time now. I wrote about, was writing about mind control and programming, and certain ones, murders, however they're committed, it's really awesome under mind control. Any crime can be committed. It's hard to prove because it's invisible. Certain murders, and there's a long list of them over the many years, have been done in patterns, and some of them definitely can be proven, but they have to get into a court of law first, and there's where you're blocked. Um, I haven't said anything in a while because I really haven't. I've tried and done all I can, and I've had a lot of repercussions. And then I get into telling about Larry Flynn. Hustler magazine was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia in 1978, and I was doing this book, medical malpractice book on mind control, murders done in patterns. And then you get into later, I was flown out to Flint's. I'd never met him. In '83, when one of the doctors, Larry McDonald, who was U.S. Congressman and a physician, and there's a lot to be said about him that's not good. Supposedly, he went down in the KAL. It was shot down by the Soviets because the pilot veered into Russian airspace. 260 plus went down. Well, the pilot was programmed to go into Russian airspace so they could shoot him down. And I have to go back to Juneau, Alaska, where the plane took off from. Nixon, former President Nixon, was on the plane. He was taken off. Geraldo, the reporter, was on the plane. He did not get back on. So somebody knew the plane was going down. Now, if Larry McDonald was on the plane for real, I was told in Atlanta when I got in the campaign and was flown out to Mr. Flint's to replace Larry McDonald, this doctor, congressman I had written about, and a lot of pain and suffering from trying to write the book, which is unpublished. So, you know, whether Larry McDonald was still really on the plane or they took the whole thing down and made it look like he was on it, I don't doubt they would do that. But I wanted to get back to this. I put all this up, the ones over the years that were done in patterns deliberately, and I haven't put any up in the last month or two, quite frankly, because I really haven't watched TV that much, the news or anything, and I didn't see any that I thought fit in. And I want to go here to years ago at Bedford, next door. I've been made homeless and penniless, and then to find out I was kidnapped in 1941 and who my father and mother are, and that really the book wasn't the reason for all the pain. It was because of who I am, and I found out about it in '83. But I actually was living on the Appalachian Trail and off of Mountain Pass Road. Up to Full Heart Knob and on, and it's cold, and when you, especially when you have no food and you have no tent and clothing and you're begging. But anyway, I was up close to past. Oh, now that I'm going to lose the name of the. Anyway, I was way up about I don't know how many miles up north of Roanoke on the Appalachian Trail, and put that one Blue Ridge Parkway. And I was camped out up there, and it got so bad I walked all the way down to Bedford. And I went to the police station, and they know all about this because Jens Orings and Elizabeth Haysom. Jens is a German diplomat's son, and he's in prison for a killing he didn't do, and so is Elizabeth Haysom of her parents. And Tim Kaine, the former governor of Virginia, who's now a U.S. Congressman, he's a Democrat. He ran on the ticket with Hillary. He was, when he finished being governor, 4 days before he was out, he was still governor, he signed to let Jens Orings go back to Germany. He was a diplomat's son. He didn't kill anybody, and neither did Elizabeth. Well, MacDonald, who later became under investigation, was almost put in prison as governor. He rescinded that, and Jens Orings is still in jail. So these are mind control murders. So I want to get back to the one that just happened up in Spokane, Washington, at Freeman High School. And if you want to make fun of this, you can. I've been through hell and called names, and the very fact that I can prove the crimes have been done against me, and I've put them up here on YouTube and Facebook. Nobody will touch it to give me money to live on and not be a pauper and run from place to place trying to live. Anyway, they put me over here, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it because this is a part of it all. Twins. I was brought over to Moulton, Alabama from Buckingham Palace, 1941 at age 2. I was put at where twins had been murdered, and they were illegitimate, born to Lionel Dempsey. And I put the pictures and all this up, and Larry Flynn endorsed me and said I knew who was responsible for his shooting. I even stayed in his home during the campaign in '83, and he furnished me a car for a year, but I've never heard from him since. But then Mr. Flint's been locked up and had horrible things done to him other than the shooting, okay? So anyway, the twins were Peggy and Carl, and they were born out of wedlock, and the mother had killed them. And I was put, Peggy wasn't killed, and the real Peggy, I still have to use that name, wasn't murdered till 2 weeks before they put me there. So hers was planned, and I've put up here how they killed her. They can't find any remains of her. They fed her to the pigs. This is for real. The only son in that family, James Matthew, who was I don't know his title now, in the U.S. Army and retired. When I was growing up, and it didn't make sense at the time until I found out later about my kidnapping, that he was screaming, "But you fed her to the pigs, but you fed her to the pigs." And that's exactly what happened to her. I had no memory of my kidnapping until late '83 when I was told by the Germans and by the British. Well, they saved my life too, and some Americans, but most of the Americans just don't care. I mean, it's a joke to them what they've done to me. But let me get back to the twins. There's been a lot of murders and a lot that happened, and it encompasses, but they're done in patterns and timeline. Some of them you can totally prove. You don't have to take my word for it. But Freeman Norwood was supposed to be the father of the twins. He was about 17 years old, and Lionel Dempsey, who was mother of the twins and killed them, and the family covered it up and covered up my being brought there. It is hideous what they did to me to shut me up, to keep me from finding out my real name. Anyway, Freeman Norwood was supposed to be the father. He was 23. I mean, he was 17, and Lionel Dempsey was 23 or 25. 23, I think. She was older. So basically, if that happened today, you could say she raped him. But anyway, Freeman Norwood, later after I was put there and given the name of Peggy, she was killed. He married Geneva, a woman named Geneva. So you get into stuff that's associated with my real name, like Philip was put there about 1945. I was put there in 41. I'm not going to go on any further about him because I don't want to hurt him. I hope he's okay. I think he is. He worked for one of the big agencies, more than one. They swap them out and they say they don't. But anyway, the name Philip is associated with Philip Mountbatten. Elizabeth and her parents, and then she's kept it, so she's more guilty than they are, really. She was in Buckingham Palace when I was kidnapped. My father's Edward VIII. He never married Wallace Simpson. It was a total lie. She married a double. It was a character assassination. My dad was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keeffe, who was Queen of England, and he was forced to abdicate in December of 36 not to marry Wallace Simpson. Wallace Simpson married the double, and Uncle George, the illegal six, Elizabeth's father, sold out his brother. He helped in my kidnapping with the Kennedys, Rockefellers, Rothschilds that control your press. Just look at NBC when they come on. I'm watching them now. When they come on in the morning, they say in Rockefeller Plaza. Well, if you watch, one of my favorite, I like him, is he's on NBC Nightly News, Lester Holt. He kind of backs away, almost walks out on the evening news and walks back kind of. And if you look up over the door, it's in the studio there. It's Rockefeller over the studio, curvature there. So the very people kidnap and control your press. And the United Nations is controlled. That's your new world order that's in place, and you're going to accept it. People already are. Can't wait to get the chip, which they've been chipping people, and this can be totally proven. Before 1963, the Tesla files that were stolen. So I'm going to quit there because the murder up here, and you can poo-poo it if you want to. That I don't know the shooter's name, and I don't know the boy's name that got shot that's dead. But I do know that is one of the, I don't need it, I know that's one of the mind control shooters. So this young man is just like the South Korean student over here at Blacksburg, Virginia Tech, back some years ago, I've forgotten the year now. I've forgotten. But he was programmed, this shooter at Blacksburg, was a student there, and he shot 32, and he died too. He's a victim of mind control. So, I'm afraid to even say much about it anymore. I've suffered so much, and then about my real name and everything, and trying to go home. My own family sold out to the Illuminati and the Americans. Sir Winston Churchill burned the Windsor files. My birth certificate, I understand there's still copies somewhere. And the fact that this whole thing, my dad was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keeffe, sister to George O'Keeffe. They stayed married, and my father was still alive when I came to Roanoke in 86. The double died in 72 and was buried at Windsor, Frogmore. And Wallace Simpson was on magazines way back then. I don't know if it's Life or I think it was. She was one of the first women, if not, on that magazine. Then you can come on through. They never mentioned my mom. They never told the truth about my mom and dad, what happened, or my kidnapping. And now then, Vanity Fair, which you think is so nice, a magazine that would put Diana, who's illegal too, and knew about me, and my mom and dad, the whole truth. They put them all over in the beautiful gowns that I paid for. They come from my money and my hell and my country's money and hell and my children and my parents. So now they've got a story that has come out, I suppose, Vanity Fair, which is supposed to be your leading nice magazine, about Harry and the girl that he's been dating. And all of them have beautiful gowns, and you don't see the hell they've done to me and the injustice, and nobody seems to care.